Hey everybody, welcome back to a Subta Friday Live. I'm your host, co-founder and chairman of Subta, Chris George. Super excited today. I've got my good friend from Boolu Group, Paul Jarrett, who last minute jumped on with me. My man's a real one. He's a good friend of mine. Paul, thanks so much for being on.
What up, Chris? How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's hard to just kind of not talk to you like a good old friend, but maybe that's what we do when it's live. But man, I'm ready to get to an event and hang out.
I know it's been too long.
Up to when I'm gonna be there.
So September 21st to the 23rd in Dallas. I know
There,
you'll be
I'm there.
And today, before we get into what we're going to chat about, even before I want you to tell everybody who you are, I want to tell a couple funny stories about how we met, and then also I have a confession. Yeah. So one of my confessions for you is I remember when I first met you.
I did too.
And then when we connected on LinkedIn, your name said Paul Jarrett Subscription Box Wizard, and I was so jealous that you had claimed that title. I was like, man, what a great name. If you didn't if I could have seen it somewhere else, I would have taken it for myself. But you are the Sub Box Wizard. You were actually in the game even well before me.
Yeah.
And then I remember meeting in Vegas, and then we got randomly approached by another sock subscription young kid. Remember, we met.
He's $1 billion now, and we're
probably. Yeah. But I met you at a Vegas. I saw you. We said hi, and then some other young entrepreneur jumped off the escalator because he was going the wrong way to come say hi to us, and you were so nice, and then flew me out to Nebraska.
To me too,
yeah. And then remember I flew out to Nebraska, hung out with the fam, got to see your facility. So you've been a great friend. And tell everybody quickly about Boolu Group. I know you have a ton of expertise in the space, and you work with some of the biggest brands in the world. So let everybody know more about Boolu Group.
Well, first off, thanks for having me on, and right back at you. Super grateful, and you've helped us out when we've needed it, and hopefully we've paid back a little bit of that. No. Always good to connect, and man, I'm ready to get out of the house and hang out anywhere. But my name's Paul. I'm the co-founder CEO of Boolu. We've always been Boolu. We've been different iterations of it, and I can't believe I'm about to say it, but it's almost been a decade. Whoa. Wow, that's so fast and long at the same time. We were one of the early subscription boxes, 6 or 7-ish, somewhere in there. They weren't even subscription boxes back then. We were just saying sample boxes.
Yep.
We weren't even thinking micro industry, whatever you want to call it. We were just, it was just kind of this thing that looked kind of like we might be able to pull it off. And we started there, and you really look in the industry and you're like, well, it's 100 years old. It's been done different ways with books and Sears and Roebuck, and but we saw what Birchbox was doing, and I had a little bit of insight on the vitamin and supplement industry following makeup, and just kind of put everything together and went, oh my gosh. I looked at my wife and I was like, this thing might work. And we went out and we pitched once, and we raised capital, and God bless our investors for taking a massive shot on us. Still, we'll pay them back here sometime. We did that, and we grew, and I think we learned it's really tough to make a venture capital model work. It's doable in the consumer packaged goods space, but it's challenging. And being early is great, but there's also, you're kind of paving the road, spending a lot of money figuring things out. And, there was no kind of, big acquisition or anything like that. Nobody would talk to us with a 10-foot pole when we went out to raise capital. It was it wasn't
a lot of data. So backing it up.
Yeah. I mean, and it's all, and then you have data and it's all subjective. Right. And so, we did a couple other things, and, really just kind of got quiet and listened and went, oh my gosh, these big brands are asking about boxes. We should probably ask if we can help them. Duh. MVP 101. Yeah. And we started doing boxes, and GNC was the first one. They're still an amazing client of ours. And then I think, Onnit, and then Disney and Crayola and Shark Week, and, clients have come and gone. There's been individual projects, big projects, 3 boxes with Disney. Crayola thing didn't quite work out. Everything you can never imagine. Joined and started. So I'm so glad you actually executed such a great beneficial thing. And pandemic hits, and we were selling a lot of our subscriptions in physical retail. And that was kind of like how we were making the model really chug, right? And tripling, and COVID comes, and we had to restructure everything. And now we're just really focused on, for now, we'll see. But now we're kind of, I don't want to say we're spotting the opportunity of smaller, mid-sized business fulfillment, procurement, really subscription folks that are ready to kind of, not deal with the 3PL part, right? And that's been good. And, we're rebuilding systems for not a couple massive clients, but a bunch of small ones. And we just had an all-day meeting yesterday. I'm like still hyped up because okay, I see it now. This is going to work. Like, okay, like please no new COVID for whatever it is. So it's cool, but man, we've hit the reset button probably about 4 times, and it's been wild.
Okay. You didn't turn the power button, you hit the reset button. Big difference.
Yeah. It's fun though. So
what I think is great is, and for those of you who are listening or watch this on later, there's so many things that Paul and I have been through that cost us a lot of money. And so like we are, we as Subtod, like from our knowledge, we can give insight on things we learned that can help save you money and help you be successful. And I remember like little things, like I was at your operation, and you were telling me how you would build the boxes and you would time it so then you knew what to charge. And I was like, man, it's so smart. Like these little things to think about, right? And then like it comes more than that. Like if you're an early stage startup and you're still doing the fulfillment, and like you really should be timing how long it's taking you, because could you be spending your time in better efforts? Also use that to calculate how much I'm going to charge. I'm going to pay somebody hourly to help build these. Like, do these economics make sense? And so, and we all know right now, labor is hard to find. Labor is very hard to find right now.
Yes.
So those are all things that are really good. And I think that I learned a ton from you, and I appreciate that. And
I got you, man.
Of course.
We're still learning, and we still, you have all those things, and then you go like, wait, what did we do 8 years ago? And you're like, wait, that glue tab, can we just fold that box? And everybody looks at you, and I'm like, like we still have more to learn and share and do. And boy, with technology, I'm probably secretly the most excited about like technology and warehouse and robotics. Like it's about to get real fun soon.
I've seen some of that too. There's some really good technologies out there that fold the box.
They
actually have arms that come out, grab the right item on like a table with like 50 different items, and like it's really cool. So today we wanted to talk to everybody about preparing for the holidays. Yes, it's May, but you need to be thinking about it now. Paul has extensive knowledge on the operational side, so there's things to consider there, right? Amping up staff and things. And of course, I can give some insight on the marketing side. Paul, given your experience and what you've seen some of the other brands do that you've worked with, what are some things you saw going into the holidays, even on the operational side, whether it's inserts or gift inserts, things? What have you seen brands do that some of those listening could, plan for this year?
It's a different, you want to say like, well, it's different this year, but like, is that not business, right? Like it's always changing, but I think it's significantly different enough to observe that with e-commerce specifically, and most subscription boxes are going to fall into that category, or most of the things we do fall into that category. So I'll be, sticking in that area, but it is different. That industry grew 44% during the COVID period. Right. And the first thing I just always think about is like, Amazon's coming for your cardboard. You better start thinking about it, figuring it out now. I'm probably right.
That's interesting.
But usually about, I think it's October-ish, the prices start increasing. So depending on how you purchase your cardboard, every year they're like, it's not a problem. And I think with the vast amount of clients that we serve, for somebody, it's going to be a problem. And so I would like really just encourage people, probably, if it's always historically been a problem in October, you probably want to start thinking about it this summer just to be safe, and maybe start poking around and just make sure, if you're doing it, it's on the shelves. You want to make sure if it's printed that like your ink doesn't dry and look funny over time, right? If you're working with a supplier, you probably just want to triple check with them. I actually don't know if there's anything in writing you could get with them that like it would be there. So I would say
placing the order early, right? So like, I'm actually so glad you brought this up. I wasn't even thinking about it. Right now, supplies in general are very hard to get. So I think that the idea is hard. Right, is like, you got to prepare. You got to order ahead of time. I think probably the most important tip is inquire with all your suppliers and have them give you the date when they should order.
Yeah. During our all-day meeting yesterday, we were talking about warehouse space, which is like always a good headache to have, right? And one of the folks that's on that team was like, well, okay, if we're going to need the space here, like we're fine. We still have time to do it here. And I was like, wait, like time out historically, but it's different now. Yeah. And it's like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. And then you like do just a really quick search on the spot and you're like, ooh, yeah, there's not much space. Okay. Mark that problem down to, we'll prioritize it. So I think like, in general, whether it's materials, people, space, all those things that you're going to need, I think it's a wise idea to, kind of list that out, get it double checked by the appropriate parties, internal or external, just get some feedback on it. And then obviously know what you have. And if you don't know, that's probably step one, right? But then just make your priority and just, kind of right or wrong. My mentality is like, okay, let's say warehouse space is it. Who, what, where, when, why, how. Let me just get, one plan. Okay, next one. And it doesn't even have to be finished. It's just kind of like, let me get the data and that path going. I do a little bit of a weird thing where I'm like, okay, let me sleep on it a couple of days. And if I don't feel good about it, let me get another one of like, second warehouse, who, what, where, when, why, right? And it's easy to maybe overthink it. It's really easy to underthink it. But I think the answer is like, get it out, or, know what you have, get out what your needs are, prioritize that, get feedback, and then just at least get some of the structure down so your mind and your team can be thinking about it. And then I think the part that everybody misses is like, we call it, solving it, we call it IDS, issue, discussion, solution. And then really what you want to say is like, okay, who's accountable and when do they have the answer to the issue? Like, what is that date? And then you just got to make sure
that's like the traction thing, right? That's
totally EOS. Yep. Traction. Yeah. Yep. And that's really hard to do. It's almost like a discipline, and it's so painful for me because it's sometimes common sense, but if I go through the process, there's always something to learn, but damn, it's hard because you just want to fix it, but I think that's where my head would be at. And just, really pick up the phone and call your vendors and say like, hey, this holiday thing, what do you see? What do you see? Yeah, you can get there's so much information online. There you can go down that rabbit hole. There's a few other things that I think help me. I don't know if they'll help people, but obviously Google, but Quora can be valuable if used correctly. And then I actually think Reddit is really good. There's subreddits for fulfillment, and those are cool because you can ask things without being known, right? Yeah. So I think all of those things, and you gotta carve out time for it. Not going to come to you. You got to make time for it.
What have you seen with some of the brands that maybe, because you do the fulfillment side, like where they've done some like insert swaps? So for example, if like the Gentleman's Box might do an insert swap with, let's say, FabFitFun, because they're thinking that our demographic they're going to want to buy a gift for somebody right. And so have you seen that? Have you seen it work? Do you see the brand still doing things like that?
Yeah. Very, lot of experience on it, good and bad. Most of it good, but bad in the sense of it's a lot more work than you ever think it's going to be.
Sure.
Just most things, and it's as much as you put into it. And I think the danger is like thinking it's just a thing that you do. It's not. It's like a strategy that requires attention, right? And I think, you know, with that, if you're going to do it, make sure you just have somebody that's going to manage it. It's not just task you check off, it's a thing. And I guess my head goes to, you know, the makeup of a subscription buyer. The data shows that they're likely to purchase subscription in general, right? I think, and I'm actually pulling a lot of stuff from some of the Subta data now mentally. You know, they're going to probably have a couple of subscriptions going, physical, digital, et cetera. So it makes a lot of sense to do it. I think you have to, you're not going to know the answer because the data you can kind of track, it works or it doesn't work, but you really have to try it to see if it works for you. And you got to expect you're going to lose some people, you're going to gain some people. But if your goal, it just depends on the goal. If you want customers versus you want it to be profitable, because depending on the insert, it could really mess up the logistics of dropping that thing in, right? I generally like it overall.
Yes, I think the customer acquisition cost was always pretty good. It was never something that moved the needle dramatically, right? But one thing I think, and you brought up a really good point, it's not just a task. And when you say it, it seems like a task. But if you want to do it right, you really should make it full circle. So as my brain started working right now, I started to think that if I were to team up with 4 or 5 brands to do insert swaps with, I'd also accompany that with like a blog post that I'd have everybody write. That was like, if I was a gentleman's box, it'd be like top 5 subscriptions for her. And I'd list the ones that I partnered with. And then I'd have them write top 5 subscriptions for him and have them include us in there, right? And then you get everybody to sort of like coincide the social. Let's each do a social post, like looking for a gift for your significant other, right? Like, I think that if you, and that's where you're right. You put somebody on it. You don't just make it a task. You do it full circle. Now you're going to maximize that whole campaign. Blog, social post, email blast, insert swap. Like do it as a full out campaign. And I think you'd see a lot of benefit.
Yeah. And the thing itself, like, you know, I do know that it's a little bit old data, but I've done it enough at different companies, but well before Boolu, where scratch offs work well. It engages people. It doesn't have to be money or lottery. It's just like literally the reveal moment.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you could actually do a reveal for like a coupon off of something, or just it's smart. You're right. If I let a scratch off, I'd scratch it off too.
Yeah, it's the same, you know, on websites right now. And for weight, it's painful, but to like spin the wheel, which like a lot of people hate, but like surprise, it works. It's like the same kind of reveal. It's like the same as a subscription box. If you don't know, you're like revealing. It's like that whole surprise and delight. And then I do know another pretty strong feature is just flat out giving people like $20 to spend at your store. That number, I don't know why. It consistently hits. I think it's because it's a believable number, and a $20 bill kind of actually feels significant, right? And if you don't do a scratch off, another thing is like, what are the Victoria's Secrets thing that I always see in our mailbox of like the free stuff that you can get, or whatever it is. It's just like that little card where if it's like $20 or like your first subscription free, and here's one for you and here's one for a friend, the pass along of that is always really strong. But those are expensive, and so that's why you got to try it, because everybody goes, well, we can just make a paper one of those, and you're like, it just doesn't convert as well, you know. So those little things, they matter. The last thing on that front is, I think the natural idea is to go drop those inserts into similar boxes to yours. I would argue that you probably want to look at boxes that the functionality of them, like monthly or the cadence of them, is similar, but it's about the subscription. It isn't about being similar, right? So like, it actually makes a lot of sense to me. You know, a gentleman's box might actually go in like a book box, right? Like that just, it isn't even necessarily to men or whatever, but it's just the person has the kind of idea of I get subscription, right? And that
versus like another men's subscription for clothes or something. You wouldn't want to be in there.
exactly.
It's interesting you said that because people, you need to consider share of wallet, right? So people only have a certain amount a year they're going to spend. And if they start to subscribe to too many things, they're going to cancel them, right? It's just like now you have to have Peacock, Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, like YouTube. Like you have to have so many. And at some point, someone's going to go back and look at that and be like, am I really watching this that much? I need to cancel one of these. So
I think about the holidays coming up, and most men know a woman and are able to speak to them. Most, not all. Like why not do a perfume, like a female perfume card in a gentleman's box? Because now they have an excuse to hand it to their mom, sister, girlfriend, girl, talk to, wife. And those are always, they're fun because they're hit or miss, but man, when they hit, it's a cool metric.
You brought an idea that came to mind. So you talked about like doing something where like I'll give you one, you give one away, right? One thing you could do is look at your like subscribers that have been around for like 6 or plus more months and offer them a subscription to gift during the holidays. Because one, they're going to be a big promoter of you because they've been around for longer. They're more likely to send it to somebody they want to give it to, and that might convert and get them to a subscriber, right? Versus just sending it to like everybody. So one campaign or one theory would be pull out everybody that's been around the longest, let them gift one. They'll feel like it's a good experience. They're going to feel good because they're picking somebody to give it to. And now that individual is getting a free subscription for the first month. That's I keep thinking of this very different similar thing, but I guess the reason that I'm thinking of it is sometimes it's so valuable to just nuke your assumptions and just to kind of wing something. And I was watching a special on Netflix, The Toys That Made Us. Did you ever watch that? No. I should watch this documentary.
So good.
Oh, no
like,
way.
Literally like He-Man action figures. They tell you how this came to be and all that. And my mind is blown. They did He-Man, and He-Man started off as a product concept, basically like how can we beat Star Wars because they're crushing us. I know, make a big guy with bigger muscles and they'll smash a lightsaber, which I'm like, damn it, that's why I liked it when I was little. Just make it bigger and meaner, right? And they took this and then they launched a cartoon, which was crazy. It didn't go cartoon toy, it went toy cartoon. And then they did a thing where they couldn't get it done in Christmas on time. And back then, if you didn't hit Christmas, you were literally dead. Right? And so what they did was they sold the box from retail with nothing in it and a coupon that would say like, hey, mail this in and we'll give it to you when it's ready, which that's insane to think that would work, right? But they actually already had printed the boxes, like they had no choice. And then they're like, okay, kids are going to open this thing up. And like, then what happens? Well, let's actually use the package as like at least a setting where they can play with other toys. Let's make it like a mountain and a rock and a cliff. And I can't help but think about like, there's going to be people with subscription boxes or e-commerce that get in that position. They're missing a product or something will happen, especially this year. I think it's good to go in with that mentality. And the answer isn't we're screwed. The answer isn't like saying we're sorry.
It's getting creative.
The answer is get creative, right? And it's the rush of the holidays and everything going on, and subscription is relentless. It is relentless. It will not stop. You've got to get creative with it. And so maybe I'm saying when shit hits the fan, watch the Netflix documentary about the toys that made us and get some inspiration. They got the Funko one too, which is super.
Oh, really? That's got to be super cool. It's funny because, and we got a couple minutes left, but it's funny because like back then, it really was like as simple as like make them bigger and stronger, and like you'll buy it, right? Like you always just wanted, you wanted the better toy, and it was interesting.
You also think ahead though. in 20 years, they're going to look at us and go like, it was so simple. Like, why didn't you just, do whatever it is that we should be doing that we
or these guys just threw random stuff in a box and people bought it.
Their problem was manufacturing. That was so hard to do. And that's not really a problem anymore if you really understand that part.
So last thing I want to touch on before we get off, and I think this is going to be quick and simple, but just how do you prepare for customer service coming these holidays? I think that you got to think about last year and really look at how that changed because of the pandemic. But what are your thoughts on that?
I think the best thing that you can do is be honest and start preparing your team. Build out, what we call it like a skeleton crew. And it's like somebody's going to have to be around, and if you outsource it, you got to start talking to them about who's going to be around. And what we do, which I think I took from a company that I worked before. I don't know, somebody might have Googled it and found it. I don't know. Or maybe we just developed it ourselves, but it's like, you have your skeleton crew and you're just really honest with like, you're going to have to work the day after, day of, day before, whatever it is, help get them ready for it. And if you need to incentivize them or, whatever it is, pay them more or whatever. And then you want your kind of like, okay, who's the backup to them? Here's the addition. And I think skeleton is like, okay, who's the muscle that goes on the skeleton? And you want to probably do 2 or 3 layers of that. And, I always say, just make sure they know how to hit the oh shit button, right? Like, oh shit, this is over our heads. Where's the CEO or whoever it is? And it's really hard, I think, the first time, or it was for us, I remember that the first couple of years, because you just feel bad. And then you realize like, oh, like these people don't care because maybe they don't celebrate Christmas or maybe they're in town or they can make money. And it's not as big of a deal as you think it is. It becomes a big deal if you wait till the last minute to kind of prepare your team. So get on that too.
Yeah, no, really good advice. Paul, I want to thank you so much for being on.
Good seeing you, man.
I know we'll chat soon. Glad to have you on as well all the time and excited to see you in person in September. And for those of you that are watching, make sure you check out our videos on YouTube as well. Under Subtime, make sure you subscribe. We're on every Friday at 2 p.m. I'm also on Tuesdays for No Excuses with Chris G often. And looking forward to everybody. I hope everybody has an amazing holiday weekend. Stay safe and healthy, and we will see you next week. Paul, thanks again so much.
Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate it, Chris.
Thank you, brother.